Hello, myself Sunil R Nair, and here basically we are discussing the combination of currencies to currencies and currency to currency. Like this combination we are discussing, and we are talking about the one example we have taken as a INR and dollar basically. In this basically we told that basically there are more than 3 lakh incidence system basically has been created by the government, and that basically connects to 3 lakh multiplied by 3 lakh, that much combination basically system combination has been created. So per day if you use basically one combination, then also basically it will not get end of the system basically. So combination system is already always there basically, which is practically implemented, and that is basically signed by the Supreme Court and by the government also. So 3 lakh basically a number basically is just taken as a rough number basically. In really basically the system number basically totally can be different basically. So like this basically we saw in future that the American group basically have the chart also basically with in front of them basically, and they basically keeps checking the investment also basically. So on the base of the investment basically the plans are basically designed, and the H1B visa basically they give green card also, they give visiting visa also, they give business visa also. Like this all visa basically are connected with the investment basically, and investment can be in the form of educational, in the form of monetary, in the form of property, in the form of businessmen also. Like this basically in the form of many form basically the the investment basically can be made. So like this basically in investment basically the investment is basically made in the form of anything basically, we can say it can be anything basically. So investment is basically must basically. So that also basically we also, and then basically we saw lots of things basically related to the currencies also. Then basically we saw that there are few physical system created, and on the base of combination basically the system gets implemented daily basically. That also basically we saw. Then basically we saw that how each and every currency rate basically, that is sometimes basically comes 83.89, sometimes it comes 83.39. So how basically the each and every paisa basically are calculated. And in this basically we have saw one example. 5 lakh people basically applied for H1B visa, and 1 lakh people basically got the H1B visa. 4 lakh people basically was rejected. They were rejected on the basis of certain condition basically of the H1B visa, which was basically the condition, the requirement of the H1B visa was this, and that requirement basically was not matching. What was the requirement? That basically we have already saw in the previous lecture basically. So now basically we will see something about business development basically. Business development means if any physical thing basically is happening. Physical thing means you can see the thing, right? For example, Indian Prime Minister is going to USA. USA President is coming to India. That means that physical thing is happening. We can see that USA President is coming to India, doing something and doing the sign and doing the telling this, that there's the future plans basically, that the people basically who's supposed to understand, they basically understands. Same way India basically, Indian Prime Minister also basically go there, and they also basically see lots of things. So to do this basically, to create this basically thing basically, it takes lots of time basically. So lots of plans basically are done. After that only basically the things basically, I have taken one example, right? Election basically, for example 2005 election has happened, right? 2005 election has happened. That implementation of that 2005, the people who are going to rule the 2005 election, sorry, the people who won the 2005 election, their ruling basically is going to start on 2020 or basically 15 basically we will say. So 20 basically or 15 basically 10 to 20, 15 years basically takes time to create the plan basically for that particular government. So the prime minister has visited the USA, that was planned 15 20, 10 basically 10 15 years before only basically. So 10 15 years before basically this was planned. So because uh, government sector basically says that basically whatever task basically which is happening between the countries to countries, that has to be planned perfectly, and that also basically the things basically I will tell you an example. For example, Indian prime minister basically went to USA and basically he told that basically this is the plan basically. So that plan is already tested by and already checked by the Indian people basically here in India, and USA basically says that we are going to implement this plan to US India basically. This plan is already tested by USA people in India basically. That USA people are the Indian basically businessmen basically who earns the money from dollar basically. They have already tested basically. After that only basically each and every in this basically 15 years basically is you get basically the person basically is going to rule in 2000, sorry, person is who won the election in 2005, he's going to rule in 2020. So 15 years is there basically to test each and everything and to basically implement each and every system basically, so that basically when the prime minister goes there, he just need to sign the thing basically, and when the American prime minister comes to India, he also just need to sign the agreement. That's all basically. Things is already done, already plan is done, implementation is done, testing is also done, each and every system is physically thing is also implemented. You can view the system also basically, that system is basically already done. Like this each and everything basically is already done. After that basically the sign basically comes. So best example is of election basically. So here basically we saw that in election basically the people who won, that basically task is already defined long before basically. So in 2005 basically who won basically, they is going to rule in 2015-20 basically, or basically 20 basically we can say. So like this basically this also affects the currency system basically. Because 2020 the people are going to rule, right, the party basically who won. So there basically stuff basically starts basically in 2005 6 7 like this basically. So he told that the currency basically keeps on moving basically, but the plan basically for the task basically which is happening, that is basically task for the 2020. So each and every testing basically which is done, each and every stuff basically which is implemented, that is basically connected with the currency department. Here basically the INR amount, then the dollar amount, that keeps on circulating, right? So that circulation basically whatever amount basically comes, that actually is the proof that this plan basically is going to implement in 2020, when the American president and the USA president and the Indian president are going to USA, and USA president are going to come to India basically. So up to that level the IITs IIMs group basically prepares basically. So like that basically also plan are basically there. So this is also basically one of the part of the currency also you can say. And there are many books basically created for the currencies to, and each and every plan basically are also basically in detail basically the things basically are explained in each and every 1,000 books also basically. They basically can't say directly basically, right? They basically tells each and every incidents basically, they can't say directly. They basically tells in economic language basically, and the economists basically are the professors who basically writes in the book basically, and according to the book basically the country basically do the implementation. So this is also something about the currencies to currencies. In next video we are going to see a little bit more about the currencies implementation between countries to countries.